and welcome to Maverrik Live. I'm your host, Luke 2, and today I'm joined by Managing Director, Terry Heath.
Good to be back. Looking forward to this one.
Are you doing well? How are you coping in all this heat?
Yeah, just melting a little bit, looking, we're typical Brits. Whether it's hot, whether it's cold, we'll have a whinge. So, hey, yeah, it could be a little bit cooler, particularly on a night. Trying to sleep is just...
Oh, yeah. I was talking to Josh on the last show, because everyone's probably getting deja vu now. He said that last time. But yeah, no, it's still going on. We're still dying here.
Yeah, just melting away. But yeah, we're all here, shorts and T-shirt, doing our everyday job.
I think I got the same T-shirt on as last. It's my, like,
it doesn't wash,
flowy
people.
one. Yeah. They don't let me leave the studio. I just sleep under the desk. So today we're talking about something which is probably close to a lot of our clients' hearts. It's sales targets, essentially, and salespeople who are struggling to meet them. Mainly forward directors think to themselves, what can I be doing to help my salespeople meet their targets?
Absolutely. It's a common issue and a big reason why a lot of people come to us, Maverrik, to help them out with their sales targets. Obviously, there's been challenges over the last 12 to 18 months, undoubted. Everyone's had to find different ways. If you were in a sales role which required you to go from site to site, factory to factory, office to office, obviously that ended overnight and people had to find different ways. And so we've had lots of companies coming to us looking for different solutions, upskilling staff and things like that, because it's just been a common thing, people missing the sales targets.
So do you think it's been, obviously we never preach cold calling, but for those salespeople who are actually using that as a method to bring it back to the home office, that must have been a very complicated problem we're having.
Yeah, you suddenly, if cold calling was your go-to, and now you're presented with, I've got a list of people and a list of phone numbers, but guess what? They're no longer in that office. They're not sitting at the end of that phone. They're now somewhere in their bedroom, dining room table.
Or your numbers changed, or you would be using your own landline for that. Could you imagine the amount of bereavement you would get as soon as it stopped?
Yeah, and your partner's going, look at that phone bill. You're ringing people in Australia. But yeah, all of those problems have come up, and it's been challenges for everybody in the sales community. So what do I now do?
Yeah. So one of the, I think Dean put a poll on LinkedIn, and we put a poll on LinkedIn just to get those figures. We posted it on our social media channels, so check out our Instagram to see the infographic that Josh made about it. Essentially, a lot of it was to do with having low activity online, because obviously a lot fizzled out, as you said, with what was happening. Also, the lack of strategy was the main one. I was number one, was no strategy.
Absolutely. We work a lot on LinkedIn, and we talk a lot about with people with the social selling. And another common theme that we come up against is when the people say, look, I've tried LinkedIn, and we have a look at what they're doing and the processes they're using, and there's no coherent strategy behind it.
Yeah.
It's almost the scattergun approach. So, okay, I put connection requests out there, I put out content, and I just hope that somebody engages with it and comes back to me. And that's just, it's not going to work.
Yeah, sales directors will bring people in and they won't they'll think, oh, I've got this really great salesman. Yeah. But they never tell them their strategy of going forward as a team. Yeah. It would be, I've just got this really great salesman and I know he's going to be great and I'm just going to let him, do his thing. Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't work at all.
It doesn't work. And if you're anybody who's been in the sales community a long time, you've moved around different positions, you'll know that you've had more success with certain products or services selling those than others because it was a better fit for you and you understood it, or you're a bit more passionate about it, all of those things. To take all of that and translate that into an online presence can be difficult. And so you might have a salesman who's got the gift of the gab, sell coals to wherever, Newcastle, as they say, and sand to the Arabs, all that sort of stuff. But now he's presented with a sales channel like LinkedIn where I'm putting up content. It's not me actually verbally speaking. Yes, you can do video content, but it's a different dynamic. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of people struggle with that now. It's a new way of selling, but people have found it difficult to navigate. How do I make this work?
Yeah, the line between how well you are at speaking and how well you are at communicating online, I'd say it's very... It can be like completely different worlds, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Biggest thing in communication online and messaging is you cannot pick up on the body language. Yeah. If you're speaking to somebody on a video call, is there in person even better? You're picking up on those little inflections and stuff that's going on, and you can judge where the pitch is going and the sales call is going. When it's just text backwards and forwards in a message, it's a lot harder to
much
gauge.
to my detriment, I'm quite a sarcastic person sometimes, so it's hard to get that across online.
Yeah.
Because you'll just be like, oh, you're just a dick, aren't you?
Oh, how we wish to say that so many times. But no, and again, you know, one of the things we work with people is say, let your personality come across in your content, in your messaging. Let them experience you. Don't make it all corporate. And again, that's challenging to do at first until you get into it.
Yeah. So one of the second lower down, other than not having a strategy on there, because I want to say a lot of people get targeted as teams, but you can also have individual targets.
Yep.
I'm going to say they have both their different, ways of working. Sometimes it's great to have a team because it raises everyone up.
Yeah.
Other times it's good to have your individual ones just in case you want to check and you want to see who's doing right in each area.
Yeah.
One of the issues they rose was ridiculous targets in a sense. So do you think it's good to be aspirational with your targets, or do you think it can be a hindrance on their motivation?
Any sales target's got to be just above what you think you can do. So it's got to have that bit of a push and a stretch in it.
Yeah.
But if they're outlandishly huge, all it's going to do is demoralize the team. Your sales team, your whole team are just flogging on trying to hit targets that are unattainable. You can't do it. There's got to be some wins along the journey. Any sales team, if they're not at least hitting the target sometime or getting that 1 or 2 big wins, every 2 or 3 months, they're going to be demoralized. It just becomes a treadmill now of, I can never actually win here. I can never attain this target. And then obviously you get all the feelings of inadequacy and failure and everything come in. And that's not an environment you want to build for a sales team.
Yeah.
You want them to be on the ball, energized, passionate about what they're doing, not demoralized.
You want to keep the timescale obviously not too quick as well, because if they meet their targets in the first month, you wouldn't raise them in for the second month. You want to make sure they're consistently hitting it first of all, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, and it's we've got it here internally as we bring in salespeople. And yes, they have targets on them, but we don't set them so high, which is, we expect in month 1, you're still learning about the company, you're learning about the different ways that we do social selling. We're not expecting you to be miracle workers and hit the top level targets in month 1 or month 2 or even month 3. We'll set targets that are attainable so that you get used to winning, achieving.
The Maverrik way of selling is completely different to what a lot of the salespeople who are coming into the company have witnessed before. Like obviously we've got, I think I'll be talking to next week India, who came from a cold calling background.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different way of doing it here.
So India is going to be a great example because, as you say, she came from that traditional cold calling background, 100 calls a day. She was so glad to get out of there. And it's just not something I would like to do. But when you're in that culture, it's mentally tiring. To get the phone put down on you, to get where did you get my number? Go away, I'm not interested. Time after time after time. It just undermines what you're trying to achieve. The methods we use are far more sociable.
Yeah. So with the targets, is it specifically actions taken or is it sales, do you think? Is it you want the results with the target or is the effort for the results?
Again, India will be a good one to talk to about. They, in her previous role, had targets on how many calls they had to get through in a day, as well as here's the sales target for the different products that they had to do. So there's got to be a balance of whether it's interactions online, whether it's phone calls, whatever it is, there's got to be a measure of what is the expectation. What do we expect to do? The company should have an understanding of their market, who they're reaching out to, what their expectations are. So, for us, reaching out online, we will work with a group of, let's say, 20 to 30 targeted prospects in any given week. And we're looking through to work that through and then get those conversations with interested buyers. That's what we're working at, and that's a rolling number. Some will drop off, the conversation goes nowhere, you bring new people in. So you're working with that, and that's our sort of framework and the way that we work. Others will have different ones, but it's dependent on your business. If you've got a product that's you just need to sell and sell and sell, it's a low level, 20, 30 pound product, almost in the e-commerce realm, you're going to have to sell like mad. If you're in the higher end, when we're talking, let's say 6 figures, of course, you've got a little bit more luxury of time developing relationships because you only need 1 or 2 of these over a period of time. So depending on what the product is, depending on what the company is pushing, the levels will be different.
So are you a fan of blanket targets, or are you a fan of individual targets being set for the person and their role?
I think the individual needs to have a target. If you set it as just a blanket team one, hey, you as a sales team need to achieve this target.
Yeah.
What happens then is you will get one or two high flyers in the mix of that team, and they end up carrying everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. We want everybody to at least achieve an average level. There's got to be an average level. Basic level. If a salesman can't come in and at least cover his costs for being there in the company, you've got a problem. But you want them to push on beyond that. So everybody needs to hit a baseline level. You're always going to get those that excel, but let's all carry the weight together. So the individual targets are key to knowing how is this person performing.
Yeah.
And making sure as well, and I've heard this story so many times, is a salesman's doing really well and then has 2 really poor months and he's let go. Every salesperson's going to have that period where it's just not hitting the mark, you're just not getting the sales across the line. Closings just become a lot difficult in the last 2 months. But month 3, boom, we're back in again.
Yeah, they can have a few it's kind of areas where something that really worked from beforehand is not working now.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of refining that, because you'll see it before. Sometimes your content doesn't perform as well because of certain reasons. It might be a slow month, like you've got December months and the summer months coming in now. We're going into August, but I don't think it's going to be quite a slow one in August this year.
Well, we're hoping it's not going to be, that's for sure. But yeah, I think there's a lot more people working through what is traditionally the summer holidays, because where are you going?
Yeah.
Even in the UK, you want to go somewhere, it's going to
kind of
cost you a fortune.
A year of summer holiday in a sense.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were still working really hard to keep everything moving forward. But a lot of businesses and companies and offices which have been empty, which are now being populated again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and being around that. And that's even a dynamic as well for sales teams, is the difference. Some sales teams will struggle because they've been working remotely.
Yeah.
And they don't have that team dynamic. Nobody's bouncing off anybody.
Do you think their social skills are going to kind of take a little bit of a...
I think you can, because, if you were used to being in an office with the sales team, that's been the environment. You're bouncing off each other.
Walk around in your slippers.
Walk around in your slippers and your shorts, yeah, all that sort of stuff. You get used to an environment where there's the unwritten competitive edge. You want to do better than Joe Bloggs beside you, and you've just heard him, close a deal, and you're like, darn, I need to get one today.
My turn, yeah,
You've got that. You're working at home now by yourself. Where's that push?
Yeah.
It's the morning Zoom call or Teams call. Hey, let's get our sales figures up, let's push. And it's like, great, that's over. But now the rest of 8 hours that I'm about to work is just me.
Yeah.
Where's that motivation coming from? Where's that, that passion being fueled all the time to really go after it? And some people are going to find it as we come back into the office environments over this next month, 2 months. They'll regain that.
Fantastic. So one of the key reasons why people are missing their sales targets, in a sense, and we've boiled it down to lower number of activity, and most of all, no strategy, essentially.
No strategy, yeah. Having a clear strategy.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Terry, for coming down.
Been good.
And thank you all for watching Maverrik Live. We'll be back on Monday for our next show. We'll see you there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all we ask.